Many people say the factory brakes on the Miata are just fine, and you know what? They are, if it's factory. Well, mine ain't factory. My car is now turbocharged, it's got a lot more power, and therefore I want a lot more stopping power. Probably more than is necessary. But we're gonna talk through everything brake related as far as different levels of upgrades, why you might wanna do various levels of different upgrades. It's a lot to get into, and I think a little big brake kit might be in store. And it wouldn't be a shop video without Manny. What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
So first thing I wanted to talk about is different levels of brake upgrades.
Oh yeah.
So we're looking at Flyin Miata today. That's where I got my little big brake kit, which is stage 3. I can kind of show you guys a few boxes of things: front rotors, front calipers, rear calipers, Wilwoods, which is really sick, 4-piston. So stage 1 is basically upgrading your factory components to a better version of them, but like still pretty much factory plug and play.
Keeping the stock caliper,
Yeah.
just upgrading the pads, maybe rotors, maybe throwing in some lines.
Right, pads, rotors, stainless lines, mix and match,
Yeah.
which is cool. So you could just do pads, or you could do like I did, which is funny. I did rotors and lines, but not pads at first, which wasn't my fault. Moss didn't have the pads at the time.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
But then recently, if you guys watched the track video we recently put up, I did finally put pads on. So I've been running with basically a full-fledged stage 1. Hawk Plus performance pads, slotted rotors, stainless steel lines, and calipers my brother and I painted ourselves, which is holding up okay. Not perfect, but yeah, they're decent. And this setup, dude, actually really stellar.
Yeah.
Like on track, it was holding up really well. These pads are super aggressive, but they're also very noisy.
Very grippy. Yeah. These are the Hawk, what was it?
Hawk Performance Plus, I
Hawk
think.
Performance Plus. Compared to, I have the red stuff, EBC actually, EBC red stuff pads, and they do pretty well, but I feel like these
are a step above,
Yeah, I think
from
so.
what I can tell,
so.
but
Yeah.
also like, annoying to daily drive. But if you like the race car vibe of squeaking at a stoplight, it's pretty cool. So maybe you should run these.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is what they would call basically front rotors, like upgrading to a 4-pot, maybe a 6-pot, 4-piston or 6-piston setup. You know, there's Wilwood. There is Brembo, but like when you're looking at aftermarket options, Wilwood's pretty much the main one I've seen.
Right.
I know there's other things out there, but that seems to be the biggest one, easy to adopt. All you're doing is upgrading your fronts, and that's because, well, when the car slows down, the weight of the car shifts forward, momentum on the front brakes are doing most of your braking anyways.
Like 70-80% of your braking.
Yeah. And that's also nice because if some people want to keep the factory handbrake vibe, which is very strong, you know, if you want to execute a handbrake turn to like impress somebody,
Right.
you might want to keep your factory rear setup. However, stage 3 is the next step, which is little big brake kit.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we are doing today. That is the fronts. Like I said, I opted for 4-piston. I didn't opt for 6-piston, and I have reasons for that. And then also 4-piston on the rear. So we're doing calipers all around. Usually stage 2, 3, 4, those also include, pads, but also rotors and the stainless steel brake lines, which help a lot.
Right.
Lines actually help with brake pedal feel.
Oh yeah.
So you're not really, what is it, like the rubber hoses will expand.
They'll expand over with heat and pressure. They'll expand, and you lose some of that brake feel. Like your brakes will just go further in than you're expecting them to.
Right. So the stainless lines help you have a linear feel regardless of how hot they're getting. And so yeah, stage 3 for me feels great. I know stage 4 is basically big brake kit.
Yeah.
Like just 6-piston fronts. Still 4-piston rear usually is totally fine.
Yeah.
This 4-piston setup actually retains the factory handbrake use, but not like it's going to weaken it. So we'll talk about that later. But it's going to strengthen my braking power. I've got kind of the entry-level pads for these, but they're still a step up from stock pads. So I'm excited to try something bitier than stock, but not like crazy aggressive. Because I think stage 4, that's like, you're going track car.
Yeah, straight up. You wouldn't drive stage 4 on the street. You're just like, first of all, you'll never get into operating temp ever, ever.
Yeah.
If you do, like, You need like 50 treadwear or 100 treadwear tires to even take advantage of any of the braking force that you even have in the first place.
Right. So yeah, stage 4 would be cool. Like if you want to go that way, you can, and just have the feeling of like, okay, I've got more than enough brakes. But like, unless you're like V8 or turbo and track car and really pushing it hard, or autocross, like not necessary. A lot of people even do maybe stage 1.5, which is like RX8 calipers.
Yeah.
That's a common thing here. But what's really interesting is, when we'll get into the parts in a minute, but I can retain factory rotors, or the factory rotor size on the front, but not on the rear. Guess what car I now have to shop for rear rotors? Trivia.
I'm going to say Honda Pilots.
Mazda 5.
Oh, I mean, kind of like not that far away.
Same vibe. Yeah. So that'll just be funny to have actually technically slightly bigger rotors in the rear than the front, but that's just how it fits, I guess. Right. So we're gonna play with that. We're gonna do the install, show you guys what we learn, tips and tricks along the way as usual, and yeah, some trimming may be needed. He's got safety glasses on. Let's go. Okay, car is in the air. Things are off and easily accessible. Now you can see what everything looks like. So I do have stainless steel lines from NC Miata. Those are coming off because this kit has specific lines, and that's the stock caliper and the Hawk Plus performance pads and the slotted rotors. Everything's in good condition. So yeah, unlike the first time I did brakes, I'm not pulling off metal on metal.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Whoever drove this car for the first 29,000 miles destroyed it.
This is flaking, though. Your pads are.
Oh wow.
Yeah, interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't think that matters, though. It's probably not a big deal.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll get it all taken apart here. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Basically, there's these main caliper bolts right back here, which are like 17s maybe, and then these bolts there to take the hose. Well, not like completely disconnected yet, but that way we can at least get everything off. Assess the situation.
Rotor will come off.
Rotor will come off. Caliper come off.
Some of this needs to be cut.
Yeah, some of the heat shield I think will need to be cut back there. But if you are, if you don't have new rotors, this kit notably these are factory rotor sizes. So that's what's cool about this. At least the 4-piston, maybe the 6, I'm not sure, but the 4-piston kit, stock factory rotors work. So you don't have to take the rotor off if you're not going that far. But I'm like, well, may as well.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very nice, yeah.
So we'll get the fronts. We're gonna start with the fronts. We'll address the rears later. I think the fronts will be harder, so start with the worst and then end with the refreshing, easy. No, it's all gonna be easy, Manny. Knock on.
Fingers crossed, as long as I don't over torque anything.
Yeah. Check it out. One side is done. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in another. So now we know what we're doing, by the way. One rotor is labeled L for left, which makes perfect sense. The other rotor is just not labeled. So now we can show you guys how to do the right side. We've kind of learned our lesson to figure out how not to do it and now how to do it correctly. So already taken off the caliper. That's pretty easy. Just take bolts off. If you've done a brake job, that's pretty basic. Take the rotors off, pads, everything, just take it all out. And then, yeah, well, show you guys the next step really, which is grinding this down. The Wilwood set doesn't quite clear this and this. Those have to be ground down a bit, and then this has to be cut off right there. But once you do that, it's pretty much easy, sort of. So we'll get grinding, and then we'll show you guys how to install the calipers. Manny, grinder safety tips 101.
If you're ever messing with this thing, unplug the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're messing with this and this accidentally turns on, you're fucked.
Fingers are gone.
Yeah. Oh, keep this on if you can, if it's not going to interfere with anything. If you need to adjust it, there's usually a lever. You just pull, the whole thing swivels.
Yep.
So
very sweet.
You're going to need at least this. They recommended either this or a pneumatic hand saw. What's a hacksaw?
Yeah, hacksaw.
But I think here, I'll show you what that looks like. It's a bit intrusive. You could damage other things using one of these. It usually has like a blade sticking out here. And you could mess other stuff up. So I think this is more, you can...
Now that we've done one side with that,
yeah,
with this circular grinder thing, I think that's the move.
That's probably all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pro tip, bungee the brake caliper out of the way.
Yep.
Which actually is just what you should do when you're doing brakes anyways.
And you don't want it hanging by the brake line. It's a general good idea. It seems like it's going to sit on the tie rod over there anyways, so yeah. That's fine. All right, let's get cutting. Now, we're gonna take this at an angle like this, probably this angle, and run it along the left side. We have to take maybe, what, 2 millimeters off?
Maybe 3 millimeters off at a kind of
from the left side.
Yeah, and kind of an angle. But what we basically do is like go at it from straight on and just kind of work our way around. Yeah, like that. And I kind of did it with on the other side with whatever direction for this to shoot the sparks the other way. So once it's cut, you can kind of mock assemble a caliper, which I can show you really quick how that looks. That's how that looks. Flyin Miata text goes towards the inside of the car. Yeah, so you basically thread the bolt in from the back, and then you can see how close you are to the caliper touching, or if you're clear. That's kind of what we're looking at there. How the caliper is. The top is good now. The bottom needs a little bit more clearance, and then we can actually screw it all together. By the way, in assembling the caliper, these shorter 36 mil bolts go at the top here, and you put a little bit of blue Loctite on them, screw them in, and that's where you see the Flyin Miata logo. It's facing the inside of the car, so you never even see it, so that's just like one of those little hidden touches. Keep the sticker on till the brake line, because that's, you don't want any debris in there. And then, yeah, so we'll thread these on, and then you tighten the 33 foot-pounds of torque, and we'll show you how to actually get them tight before you put it on the car. So first you test fit to make sure you did enough grinding.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
And yeah, we're good. And then what you'll notice is it's actually hard to get to like a socket around the bolts that we just put on there. So here's the trick, like I was talking about, put it on backwards, and that gives you access to these to then torque them down with your torque wrench. It is a 17 millimeter bolt, by the way.
33 foot-pounds? 33
foot-pounds, or is it pound-feet? I can never remember. So before you install rotors, just in general, big brake kit aside, you always want to clean it with brake clean. You don't want any fingerprints, oils from anything on there, because that can really eat the brake pads unnecessarily. So they do come protected with some coating. So obviously brake clean will take some of that protectant away, but that's just for shipping and stuff, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we'll discuss bedding later, but that's a whole process to make sure they're properly bedded, matching pads with rotors, and safety first. It's always really important to follow braking systems safety-wise. And so regardless of whatever we're showing you here, Flyin Miata has a really great instruction manual on the website with clear photos and everything. Definitely follow that step by step. It includes steps for 6-piston caliper or 4-piston caliper, Loctite. Everything is really clearly laid out, so definitely recommend following that, other than, you know, like they show the purple bracket, whereas they've switched on to a blue bracket now. I guess that was an older part, but same part, doesn't really matter. And yeah, we're just showing you whatever tips and tricks we can think of, such as flipping it around to torque it. So next up, installing the rotor, which you have to do with the caliper off. Then you can put them on together and slide it on with the longer 40 millimeter bolts on the back there. Also torqued to 33 pound-feet or foot-pounds, but they're 19, so you will need a separate socket for that. What's nice in my case is the stage 3 kit with the 4-piston, or if you were in stage 2 with 4-piston fronts. The 4-piston calipers are the same. Either side of the car, you just flip it around, doesn't matter. The 6 pistons are not the same. You do need a separate, or you need to pay attention which one's left, which one's right. So just make note of that. Here's the brake pads. They go in such a neat way. So this just slides out, this pin thing. New pads just slot right in.
It's so sick.
So it makes swapping pads really easy. This comes with the 10 series pads. I forget the letters, EV10, PB10, something like that. There's also a more aggressive 20 and an even more aggressive 40. So what I might do is maybe keep a set of 40s around and throw those on the fronts if I do a track day. They just swap right in, swap right out. And then throw the 10s back on for my daily driving, canyon cruising, even autocross. These should be fine. Definitely better than the stock stud up I had before. Then there's a little bolt that goes in the back there. Doesn't have to be super tight. It is a, what was the Allen key we found? It's a 3/16.
It's weird.
Super random.
Yeah.
But that's the size for that thing. Doesn't have to be crazy tight because, well, it's not really, it's just holding that pin on. It's not really doing much else. Taking my old lines off, which occurs to me, I think that middle bolt was put in upside down, which is possibly why they were rubbing a little bit. So there was not enough slack in the line. That's my guess. We'll see. So we are putting these new ones on correctly this time. Again, per Flyin Miata's beautiful instructions. And here's how it looks. They are not the same left and right. The difference is this middle holder right here. So there's that. For most of you guys, including my brother, your flare nut situation back there above the banjo bolt will be fine. Mine's a little destroyed because it was so rusty to get those on and off. So in my case, I have to use a vice grip to actually loosen that. For most of y'all, it'd be easier. But that's the flare wrench thing that you definitely want to use.
It's a 10.
All right, I used the vice grips to get that thing loose right there. A little bit of dripping of brake fluid is normal. And now we can zip off the 12mm bolts right down there and right there. All right, once that's done, you can pull the caliper and all the lines out. You don't actually have to undo the line from the old caliper because, well, you're replacing everything.
So the order that I think is optimal, the best, just to make everything as simple as possible, is you want to first connect this to the back of this caliper. After bolting this up, this one goes first.
The middle bolt?
I think that's probably the best thing. Yeah. This one goes first. Then you want to put this one in to the back of here, which we need to put that other thing here.
That goes into the back of the caliper once the sticker comes off.
The red side is the one that goes into the to the caliper.
And you put it in until it's finger tight, and then you go an additional 1.5 to 3 turns. You can use, I think it was a 12mm wrench, but yeah, get it fairly tight, but then it has to end up being upright.
Uprights.
So now we have the thing installed on the back of the caliper there, facing upright, which is what we want. Then we can put the hose in, install it like we said, middle bolt first, then the other ones. By the way, on the caliper side, it's an 11mm connection, and yep, there we go, all tight. They say like 11 to 15 foot-pounds, I think, so like not crazy tight, but obviously you don't want brake fluid flying out on you, especially on track. So you definitely want to make sure everything's tight and good. Same with the bleeder valves, which I'll get into later, but Luke had one of those pop out on track apparently. Lost brakes.
Holy shit.
Terrifying, man.
Jeez.
Fronts, done. Food brake, done. Next up, rears. We're getting a head start over here so we can show you guys what to do. And, well, this is a bit of a pain. This is probably the right tool for it, or close to it, because if we actually use a Sawzall, you're gonna get dangerously close to the stuff behind this shield, and basically this heat shield is too big or too small for the new bigger rear rotor, which is, it's only 0.4 inches bigger than the front, but it's like a full, I don't actually know how much bigger it is than the rear rotor. We can actually show side by side in a little bit, but big enough to where you have to cut the entire lip off of this thing to then fit a bigger rotor. So it was kind of a process. I ended up cutting slots and then going around and cutting pieces off one at a time. using this thing. It does leave a bit of a sharp edge. And so I think at some point, filing that down is my plan. For now, just trying to get the brakes on, but yeah, that'll be an eventual thing. And yeah, you also have to undo a clip in the very middle, kind of behind the mid pipe that connects, that's where the two e-brake lines connect together. You have to undo that clip to pull them out. And also a bolt where the e-brake lines go back there. It's a, what is that, a 12mm bolt? Something like that? Yeah. That was a little rusty on mine, but still got it out. Some PB Blaster does wonders. Highly recommend a can of one of those suckers, especially on a car as crusty as this one. It's not terrible, but it's enough to be really annoying. So annoying that we haven't been able to do my rear sway bar yet because, well, yeah, we'll get to that eventually. So I'm gonna figure out how to disassemble, reassemble caliper. We'll show you guys, but just wanted to show off the cutting and mention the process. Leave some time for that. It's annoying, but it's doable. In terms of assembling the rears, a little bit of assembly required. They include the parts, and it was actually a little confusing at first because we saw basically 3 different types of arms here, but we actually only used 2 types. Perhaps these 2 are if you're not retaining your parking brake, but because I am, we replace this one with this. From what we can tell by the photos, that's what we need. The parking brake comes through here and then connects to there. And so you slide this little dowel through the hole, then you put these on either side of the dowel, and then you screw them into the caliper like Manny's doing right there. Pretty straightforward. So for the driver's side, you have to reroute the emergency or parking brake line from going up this way to now going past the subframe thing this way. And so that's up here. They do include some hose that you can cut and then use as a, I guess, boundary protective barrier, something like that, against where it contacts metal. And that's all you do. This thing can be taken off, but I couldn't really figure out a way to take it off, and it doesn't really hurt anything being there, so I'm just gonna leave it there for now. Maybe eventually I'll figure out a way to pull it off, but daylight's getting low. All right, to do the rear, well, like I said, cutting this off to make space for the bigger rotors is necessary. Also, to remove the brake lines, you gotta pull this tab thing out, which is not too hard. Just wiggle it out and pry it out, and then use your spanner situation. Can't remember what it's called, but put that around the bolt to break it loose, just like that. And then you can work that out of there, and that's how you pull the brake line off of the rear. So that undoes that. This will then slide out from the hole, and if you're replacing the hoses like I am, just take the whole thing off. You don't have to undo it from the rear caliper situation. So then I'm guessing we'll have to reroute this parking brake, which shouldn't be too hard, and it's a little different on each side, so we'll see how this one looks. But yeah, it's coming together. All right, now I've got the caliper bungeed out of the way. That's loose, but I left it connected just so I'm not dripping more brake fluid. It doesn't rush out, it just drips out, which is important to know, so you don't have to worry about your whole system just suddenly draining. Anyways, this goes in next. So this bolts in like this, and you will also, or does it go like this? No, it goes like this. This goes in like this with the Flyin Miata logo facing inwards, and you'll use these bolts, which go in from the back, and you'll use blue Loctite on these and torque them to 33 foot-pounds. Boom. Once that's installed, you take your caliper, your gorgeous little red caliper, and you'll have to slot the rotor in first, but I just wanted to show you, set it on there, and you'll use these bolts, these hex end bolts. So the rears, you can't really get the bolts mixed up. One looks like this, that goes into the caliper, which only fits this way because it's a round hole. This one back here is the actual one you use your, what is this? You use a 17 on that one to tighten it, and then you'll use this little guy on these to torque that down, also to 33 pound-feet. Be careful not to strip the head. Quick size comparison, by the way. So that's the old rear and that's the new rear, the Mazda 5 size, which is just hilariously cool. And you can also tell rears and fronts apart, because fronts typically are kind of double thickness because they have some like air in the middle to like help with cooling. The rears are usually just one solid piece. All right, so it's a little hard to show, but the parking cable on the passenger side has to also go in front of the subframe. So it came back through there last time, now it comes up through here. And like before, use some of this hose, slit it, put it over there to protect it against where it rubs up against the metal. And it's just long enough to reach this hook. Before I do that though, it came to my attention, Manny found the instructions that the pads, they slide in and they have these shims right there, one on each side by default. There are extra shims in the kit and they suggested we put a third one on one of the sides just so we have yeah, a little bit extra, or less wiggle room, I should say. All right, everything's installed. Next step, bleeding, which is a little bit different than your normal, but not that much different. The strategy still remains, and we've shown it two ways on this channel. One with this fancy pressure power bleeder thing, but we're doing the old school way because we're classy like that. So it's got two bleeders, actually four, but we're not using the lower ones.
Just the top ones.
Just the top ones. You do what, inner one, then outer one?
Inner, then outer, yep. Start on the rear right, they say.
Rear right, and then rear left, and then front right, and then front left. So 8 total little things. I'll be pressing the brake pedal to put pressure in the system as it pulls out. We'll get it all sorted. I'm not really going to show you guys in this video because this is mostly just installation, and I'll show you guys bedding and brake test, of course. But yeah, let's do it. Now that it's a day later, we can get a look at the brakes in the sunlight and torque the wheels. Always torque the wheels. Double check the torque, in fact. But let's take a look. Look at that. Looks fantastic. That's the rear. The front right there looks awesome. The caliper itself, not much bigger than the original factory caliper, but just a little bit, and I like that. Of course, the 6-piston would look even cooler, but I kind of like making a stand on the fact that you don't necessarily need huge brakes on a car like this. Sure, it's fun, but 4 pistons all around, still a huge upgrade. Let's torque it, and then I'll show you guys how to bed the brakes. Also a very important step. All right, let's go bed these brakes. First thing I noticed was, well, as Flyin Miata mentioned, the parking brake is not as strong, so you don't want to rely on it on an incline. My garage is just slanted enough to where it's probably fine, but I still left it in gear, which is not something I often do, and so I've already stalled my car. So that's something that'll take some getting used to. That's kind of on me. A lot of people actually park their car in gear, so not really, I guess it is my fault. The other thing you want to do is, well, as you leave the garage or leave whatever, just make sure the brakes do work. Now, we're about to bed them, but make sure they at least function before you do anything. That way, you know, there's no crazy noticeable problems. Although when you're bleeding the brakes, that's usually when you should notice whether fluid is actually going through them. That's very important. If there's not, then you've done something terribly wrong. But bedding brakes, fairly simple process. It's just a bit time consuming, and you also want to make sure you have no traffic behind you, which I have traffic behind me now, so I'm going to very gradually slow down, let this guy over, and then get back over. So what you're going to do, from about 30 to 35 miles an hour, do a kind of aggressive stop. Nothing crazy, and you don't want to fully come to a stop, but do it over and over again. About 6 to 10 times is what they claim. So now we're doing 30 again, and we're gonna come to a stop here. What you're doing is warming up the rotors. So I'll do a couple of consistent ones here. 40. There we go. Heat up the rotor again. Let someone pass you, then do it again. It's just over and over and over to really get the brakes warmed up. It really is daunting to like let traffic by. It's great if you have like a country road where no one exists, but that's not many of us. So it's just gonna be practice makes perfect type of thing. I can already tell though, the brakes really do work. This is awesome. So after about 6 to 10 of those, you want to do really aggressive 50 to 55 mile an hour and then stop. And you'll do that a handful of times, maybe 3, rough guess. It's not like an exact science, but really what you're doing is first warming up the rotors, then warming up the pads. But you don't want to come to a complete stop and sit on the brakes, because that could cause the pads to like warp to the rotors. And then it's like all too hot, and then yeah, not a good combo. Every time my bed breaks, everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. I mean, are they wrong? What? Anyways, yeah, once they're bedded and you can smell the brakes, which I can now, that's when you just drive around, let them really cool off, and you'll just drive around cool and calm until they are nice and, well, cool. And what's nice is, you know, if you have a manual or if you have an automatic and do want to do an extra bit of paddle shifting, you can actually drive around pretty well without using your brakes. So once they're bedded, to cool them off, don't use them. Drive at some normal speeds. Unfortunately, it is kind of warm out today, but the clouds have come in, so it is cooling off just a hair. And yeah, you just drive around, don't use your brakes. You can rev match your downshifts, or just downshift, I guess. And you can downshift almost to a stop. So you can really take a lot of the wear out of the brakes. In fact, if you really properly drive, you don't actually have to use your brakes that often. For example, when I first got my car, I've mentioned in multiple videos, I bought this car when it had 29,000 miles, and by the time I got it home, the brakes were actually metal on metal, the rear pads anyway. Or actually no, the front pad, I don't remember. I forget which side or corner, but the pads and rotors were literally metal on metal, which is crazy. I replaced the brakes with stock pads and rotors. And then I got 60,000 miles on that next set. So I got double the mileage, and they still weren't metal on metal, by the way. So whoever was driving it before me really drove it hard and never really, I'm guessing they just, you know, shifted and shifted and then top speed down to 0 and then start over. They were not the type of people that would rev match their downshifts. So I was able to get a lot more life on those brakes. But these, so far, first impressions, especially testing them while bedding them, I'm pretty thrilled. They feel great, they feel solid. They should definitely have better performance than stock brakes. Still probably not, you know, the pads that are included in this kit are not really made for track, and so if I do go tracking, I'll probably buy the BP 40 maybe, just go full aggressive, and that'll be like a track set of pads. But then, because of the way these calipers are made, these 4, or if you did the 6-piston calipers, same story, you can slot the brakes in, the pads in so easily. You don't have to like take the whole thing apart to get it all done. It's super, super nifty. So big fan of that, looking forward to that, and I'll definitely be testing them more. So this was kind of just a first initial showing you guys this kit, showing some of the tips on how to install it, especially the complexity of, you know, rewiring or rerouting, I guess, the rear emergency brake and everything. Yeah, definitely. It took a while. It took me and Manny about 8 hours to do this, but that's with all the cutting. I mean, most of that time actually is maybe the rears. That was definitely the majority of the time. So if you are just doing the front kit, which is all most people need, technically speaking, it wouldn't take that long. That's your stage 2 setup. But I am kind of picky with looks, so I just went full stage 3, and I'm pretty thrilled. Stay tuned for more videos, more impressions on these brakes. I'm hoping to do another update on the car pretty soon here, with just, now that I've done brakes, suspension, everything, I'm pretty thrilled to show you guys that. So until then, thanks for watching. Huge shout out to Flyin Miata. You'll find the parts linked down below for the various stages. And I'm so thrilled with how these look, thrilled with how they turned out, thrilled I was able to do it. Didn't have to have a shop come in, despite the crustiness of the underside of my car. Can I recommend them? So far, based on looks and just the responses I got in my Instagram story, yes. But stay tuned for more content as I continue to test these out. Hopefully some track time later this year with this brake kit. And I'll see some of you guys at Miata's at the Gap. Or if this video went up afterwards, I saw some of you guys at Miata's at the Gap. Cheers.